Hi, I'm Olusola. I work in digital marketing. I'm really looking forward to this chat with Lekon.
Hi, Olusola. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you on Six Figure Mindset. So, what do you do today? What's your kind of role? What do you work on?
So I work as a head of digital marketing at a law firm. In a nutshell, what I do is basically I manage the short-term and long-term digital marketing strategy of the firm, acquiring new clients, also retaining our clients. I just don't do it by myself. I do manage a team who help me implement my strategy, about a team of 6. I also work with different suppliers who help us deliver that strategy across different platforms. It's also a two-pronged strategy in the sense that I have to break down digital marketing concepts to lawyers on a day-to-day basis, as you can imagine. So
Yeah.
it's about trying to do a storytelling exercise with data, but at the same time trying to hit our KPIs as an organization. So it's been interesting. They're going through a bit of a digital transformation, but it's been a good journey so far.
So when I think about digital marketing, I do not think about law firms. So why does a law firm need digital marketing? Because
That's a good question. So if you think about law firms, the way they make their money, or the fee earners as they call them, is to get clients, right? So in order for you to get clients, you have to go to where your audience is. And most of the audiences we know is online. Everyone uses their phone, everyone goes on Facebook, everyone goes on TikTok, Snapchat. And also depending on the department, so I can give an example. So we have a group claims department where we do Americans call it class action lawsuits, where
Yeah.
you get people to sue a particular company.
so like the diesel
Like the
scandal.
diesel scandal or the Bolt and Uber employee
Yeah.
scandal as well. And in order for you to get that type of audience, you have to market to them to let them know about that particular claim. Another example could be retaining of clients. So we have an international department where we try and talk to NGOs and charities. And in order for you to talk to them, you have to be able to send communications to them. So you would send out a brochure, you would send out a digital brochure, you would collect their data, so email address, so you can email them. You can also put a strategy together with them in terms of how you want to promote their charity as well, or an NGO. So it's quite varied, and also the website, as you know, for a law firm is very important. That's the first thing people would look at if you're trying to get a service from a particular legal expert. You're going to go on their profile. Digital helps that in terms of ranking on Google, utilizing
Right.
SEO, ensuring that the blogs, the case studies, the content, that you're able to track the audience as well from an analytics point of view.
But then I guess in terms of the spend, I'm quite intrigued with this because it's when you told me this is what you do and it's with a law firm, I was like, I'm trying to figure out. So from a return on investment, for you to get X amount of clients, is it a clear science in terms of the return on investment? So I pump in X amount of thousand a month with the expectation to get this amount of new clients, or is it something that is kind of a bit ambiguous about how the conversion happens?
So if you think about from a KPI perspective, most law firms look at pretty much 3 things. One is revenue. How much revenue can I get based off the marketing spend? So if, for example, if I'm looking at a return on investment, if I spend, I don't know, £10, I probably want to get £30 back in revenue. That's usually a benchmark or a standard in terms of your ROI. You also look at client retention. So how can I retain the clients that I've just acquired? How do I make them happy? What kind of communications do I send to them? How do I ensure that they have a great client experience? So if they want to get their case or know the status of their case, you have to create that end-to-end experience for the particular client as well. And lastly, from a law firm's perspective, is how can you grow awareness? So you're trying to grow awareness for your law firm, right? Because not everyone will know what your law firm does, right? So you're constantly trying to do constant marketing, constant digital campaigns, constant above the line campaigns as well, looking into press, looking into digital, above the line, TV, radio, just to try and ensure that your audience understands what kind of services you're actually providing to them
Right.
as
So
well.
it's more than just Facebook
It's
ads,
more than that.
etc.
It's
It's
more than
actually
that.
much more. Okay, great, brilliant. So tell us, where did it all begin? What area did you grow up in?
So for me, I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Uh,
Jeez.
um, when I moved over to London when I was 16, so school. So I came over here to start school. I did a international foundation program at the University of Reading. So I didn't do A levels, which is a 1-year program at the University of Reading. and once I did that, I was thinking of what degree I wanted to do. When I was growing up, my dad was an accountant. My mom is a public servant. She works in the presidency in Nigeria. Um, and I wanted to be an accountant. But when I was growing up, my grandfather was a chemistry teacher. And I lived with my grandparents quite a lot. And chemistry started to become more interesting to me. So from a degree perspective, I was like, I'm good at numbers. I like numbers. Maybe I could do chemistry as a degree. So I decided to do chemistry at University of Reading. So I did that.
With what? I have two questions because you said something that is very un-Nigerian.
Sure.
You said someone was into chemistry.
Yes.
That I'm just trying to figure out. So the question I would say is, wouldn't they be asking you what job are you going to get if you're in the chem?
That's a good question. So my father spoke to me and he thought I wanted to be a teacher because he was like, when you think of chemistry, you want to be a teacher.
Academic, yeah.
Academic.
Exactly.
But I think at the time with degrees and at that age, I'd realized that it's not about the profession that you'd want to do with your degree. It's how you use your degree. So your degree can get you anything at the moment. So even when I finished university, I had an internship at UBS and I noticed that a lot of firms were looking at analytical data people, and it was one of those degrees you could pretty much do anything. You don't have to be a teacher. You could be an accountant, you could be an economist, you could be a digital specialist, you could be a web analytics, you could be in data, you could be a teacher if you want.
And that thinking was accepted in Lagos, Nigeria, when you proposed doing chemistry?
Yeah, because my mom and my dad wanted me to just be happy. I was an only child, so whatever made me happy was what they would definitely.
Do you know how blessed you are? There are people who were the only child. They would have never allowed chemistry.
I think it was just one of those things. I just think that they were just happy that I wanted to do something and
not stay at home.
And just not stay at home and obviously be ambitious and do something. And ultimately my mom especially wasn't afraid for me to fail. So she would like me to try things and be focused. She never told me you have to be a doctor, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a scientist or what have you. She was like, what do you want to do? Within reason, of course, because there's certain professions that your parents want you to do. But ultimately, I think she had a bit of a soft spot because I wanted to do chemistry and her father did chemistry as well.
So that was your buy-in.
That was my buy-in. And I thought, okay, do you know what? Let's go for it. Let me do it. It's a science degree. It's a BSc. What's the worst that can happen with a chemistry degree?
So if you came here at 16 and you did a 1-year course, did you start your degree early?
Yeah, so I came in at 16, so I was 17 actually, 17 and a half, yeah.
So you graduated at 20?
21.
Did you do a sandwich course?
I did a sandwich course.
Oh, okay.
For 21.
Wow. How was that like? So that means everyone in your year group would have been older than you when you started?
Just 1 year older than me.
Oh, but it wasn't really noticeable?
It wasn't really noticeable at the time anyway, because I didn't do A-levels. A lot of my course mates obviously did A-levels and they had 2 years, so they were like 18 at the time. So when they were coming, some of them were 19. But I think at that time, I don't think people actually realized, because the foundation course gave me the opportunity as to what kind of courses I would be expecting in university. So it's kind of like a prelude to what you'd be doing at the university.
Okay, cool. And culturally, coming from your setup in Nigeria, obviously land of plenty, land of goodness, and there's probably a lifestyle you was used to. Was it a massive change now coming to Reading? And did you come with your family or did you just come? No,
so it was just me. So my parents worked in Nigeria. Obviously for study, they said, okay, you want to go to Reading, that's good. I came over to Reading. I did have a guardian, my aunt, who lived in Surrey at the time. So she was my guardian, who obviously I'd stayed with. But most of the time it was just, I was very independent just because of my nature, and obviously being an only child. It was just very independent, trying to figure out things on my own, quite studious. When I had the opportunity to get a summer job to try and get some money, I used to do that as well. So from a cultural perspective, I don't think it was a bit of a shock because I used to come to the UK every summer.
Oh, okay.
So I had people that I knew, I was familiar with it as well. I think the only culture shock for me was obviously coming from the Nigerian education system into the UK education system.
Slower? Was it slower?
I wouldn't say it was slower. I'd just say that it was more how you apply your thinking. I think when I went to secondary school in Nigeria, I did learn quite a lot and I tried to apply myself. But here, it was taken to another level in terms of, okay, here's a project that you need to do. How do you apply it into the real world rather than, okay, here's a project and then how would you do it? So it's about applying it into the real
So it's
world.
more practice. So it's more the application
It's
of
more
what
the
you learn,
application of
as
what you
opposed to
learn.
theoretical.
Yes.
So Nigerian was more theoretical, whereas here it was more practical.
More practical, more how do you apply it into everyday life? Okay, this is how you do things. And it was good. I think it was a good thing for me as well, because I think in the workplace as well, especially when you're working, you can learn a lot of stuff, you can read a lot of stuff, but it's how do you apply it into the real world as well. Not to say that all secondary schools only teach theory. I think maybe that's the way I perceived things.
Yeah.
Maybe on my colleagues or my classmates would have perceived it differently, but I think for me it was more about how do I apply it when I got here, and it was quite a good learning curve for me.
And academically, then, are we saying that you're like super smart, like you straight A's?
I was not straight A's. I was probably an average student. I wasn't. I can put my hands up. I was more average B's, C's, maybe got 1A or 2A's, but I was more of an average student growing up.
So you do chemistry, do your sandwich year. So if you're doing chemistry, where do you do your sandwich year?
So I had a year out at a company called GE.
GE.
GE Capital.
Oh, okay. GE Capital,
GE
not
Capital.
GE General Electric.
No,
Okay.
General Electric, GE Capital for a year. And once I did that, I came back.
But wait, GE Capital sounds like a finance company.
It's a finance company, yeah.
So where does chemistry? Why move into that as a?
I think for me, I wanted to look at options in terms of what I wanted to do, which led me on to the internship I did after my degree. I think for me with chemistry, I just wanted to just try something and just see what was out there. And I think finance, I think everyone was talking about finance at the time. Everybody wanted to go into finance. Tech wasn't really a big thing at the time. It was more about like finance, courses, finance, jobs, finance, application. And I was trying to see if that was something I wanted to do. When I finished at Reading, I had the opportunity to get an internship called the Mountbatten Internship Program.
That sounds like a family I know.
Yeah, it's it's a family you would know. it's the royal family, Royal Mountbatten. They have an internship program which they do, and I was able to get that program, and that program allowed me to work in New York at UBS AG.
Hold on one sec. At uni or after uni?
After uni.
How did you find that?
So to be honest, I was looking for what I wanted to do, and I applied for so many finance jobs, I wasn't getting it. So I came across this internship, and they were like, you can work in finance, you can work in consultancy, you can work in healthcare, you can work in anything. I applied for it. I went for an interview, and they were like, yes, you can get a sponsor company. And one of the sponsor company happened to be UBS AG in New York. And I worked in the middle office in fixed income, currency and commissions, which was a brilliant experience. It was really fast paced. I think I learned so much in the space of that year, like made so many mistakes, learned from it, had some mentors who really helped me to push. But also at the same time, that internship as well gave me a certificate called the International Business Certificate as well. So it gave you that international experience working with Americans. So thinking about someone who grew up in Nigeria, doing university in the UK, then all of going to another country, at 21 to New York for a year, being housed, learning about the real world of finance, how things work from the back office to the front office to the middle office was a great experience as well.
And you're 21?
And I'm 21 at the time.
So you go from Africa to Europe, and then you go to America. So culturally then, America and working in America, being around Americans and the UK, what differences did you say you found? Because obviously they are intense human beings. So what differences would you say you found?
I'd say Americans are very direct. They will tell you as it is. They're quite, I wouldn't say brashy, but they would let you know how they feel. They don't cut across. They don't beat around the bush.
They're not polite like.
They're not polite like the Brits or from people from the UK as well. I think the Brits are more explain what has happened.
Yeah.
Go around, come back into it as well. And I think culturally, that's not a bad thing as well. But I think in America, especially when you work in the finance department, if you make a mistake, they will let you know. Like they would ask you a question, like to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. But I think after the first couple of weeks, I kind of realized that you have to have tough skin and just take it as feedback, because it's not a direct application to your skill set or to you as a person. It's just the way they want you to learn, and they just tell you, look, you made a mistake, this is how you do it, or this is how you learn from it. And I think that's also helped me in my career moving forward, because when I meet people from different backgrounds, I kind of understand how to talk to people and not take things personally. And if anything happens or things don't go my way, I don't have imposter syndrome in that sense, because it's not about you as a person, it's about how you can apply yourself and learn from it. So that's the way. And that also led me to my master's degree as well. So when I did that for a year, at the time, this was the financial crisis, 2008. So fresh in the mortgage-backed security crisis as well. So ultimately, I was thinking, oh no, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a job. They were downsizing, and I had to think, okay, what am I going to do? So I came back to the UK. I did my master's.
What did you do?
University of Surrey.
Okay.
So I did an international business management degree, MSc. So did that, finished the degree, and for like a couple of months, I couldn't get any roles. Like I was just trying to look for an opportunity to see what I could do. When I started to apply for roles, I came across digital marketing, and I kind of read through it, and I was like, this is something I probably could do. And an agency called Harvest Digital offered me my first grad job. They were a small agency based in Soho, and they did something called search marketing. At the time, I never knew what search marketing was. Obviously, I used to go on Google, but when I started to look at it, I realized that it involved not just what people type online. It was back end, it was creative, it was numbers, you're analyzing data. Yeah. And I was like, actually, this is something I'd like to do. That's where my love for digital marketing started from. Forward